Commander John Hale stood beneath the vast silver dome of the Galactic Council, his hands folded behind his back, his posture calm but alert. The dome arched high above him like a frozen wave of metal and light, reflecting the colors of 100 alien banners. Soft light flowed across the floor in slow patterns, as if the building itself were breathing. Around him sat the delegates of dozens of starfaring worlds, each species shaped by its own history, fears, and pride. They spoke of peace, balance, and unity, yet John had learned that words often hid deeper intentions. Beside him stood Anna Moore, Earth's senior diplomat. She was younger than John but carried herself with quiet confidence. Her eyes moved carefully from one speaker to another, listening, measuring, hoping. She truly believed this moment mattered. For Anna, this council chamber was proof that humanity had grown beyond its violent past. She believed Earth had finally stepped into a larger family, one built on trust rather than fear. For years, Earth had given more than it took. Human scientists shared medical knowledge that cured long-standing alien diseases. Engineers offered efficient energy systems without demanding control in return. Earth's fleet advisors helped weaker worlds protect trade routes and defend against pirates. Humanity did not arrive as conquerors. They arrived as helpers. Many council members praised this generosity in public. They called humans ideal partners and a stabilizing force. Applause echoed through the chamber more than once. Anna smiled when she heard those words. John did not. John had spent most of his life in space. He had seen what happened when power shifted too fast and fear took hold. He noticed how often praise came wrapped in careful language. He saw how some delegates avoided looking directly at the human section. A few whispered among themselves when humans spoke, their voices low, their faces tight. As the debate continued, a tall council official floated to the center of the chamber. Its voice was smooth and calm, translated instantly into every language. Peace is fragile, the official said. It must be guided carefully. Too much change too quickly can bring chaos. Several delegates nodded. Others glanced toward the human representatives. Anna leaned slightly toward John. They're cautious, she whispered. That's normal. We're new. John answered quietly. Caution is one thing. Fear is another. Anna frowned but said nothing more. The discussion shifted to defense. The council proposed a new shared security plan. Under this plan, Earth's fleets would be placed along the outer borders of council space, guarding distant regions against unknown threats. The proposal was praised as an honor. Humanity was being trusted with the front line. Anna felt a spark of pride. This was what partnership looked like. Responsibility. Respect. John studied the details scrolling across his wrist display. The border zones were far from major council worlds. Too far. Supply lines would be long. Communication delays unavoidable. If something went wrong, help would be slow to arrive. He raised a hand to speak. Earth accepts shared responsibility, John said calmly, his voice steady through the chamber. But we request clearer support guarantees. If our fleets are stationed so far out, response times matter. The official paused before replying. Your concern is noted, Commander Hale. Council resources will be available as needed. It was a polite answer. It was also empty. The vote passed quickly. Most delegates approved the plan without debate. Anna felt relief wash over her. She looked at John, expecting him to share the moment. He did not smile. After the session ended, the chamber slowly emptied. Alien forms drifted, walked, and glided toward different exits. The lights dimmed to a softer glow. John and Anna remained behind for a moment, the quiet settling in. This is it, Anna said softly. We did it. Earth finally belongs here. John looked up at the high dome, then back at her. Belonging isn't given, he said. It's tested. Anna crossed her arms. You always expect the worst. No, John replied. I prepare for it. They left the chamber together, passing through long halls lined with council history. Images showed ancient wars, broken alliances, fallen civilizations. Most ended with symbols of unity. Few explained the cost. In the days that followed, Earth's fleets began to move. Ships slipped quietly from human space, heading toward distant borders. Crews trusted their orders. Command trusted the council. Messages of support flowed in from council offices, warm and encouraging. Still, small things felt wrong. Supply requests were delayed. Updates came slower than promised. Joint training exercises were postponed without reason. When Earth's commanders asked questions, answers came wrapped in careful words and soft apologies. John watched it all from Earth's command station. He did not speak his worries aloud, but he recorded everything. Anna remained at the council, working tirelessly to smooth relations. She defended humanity's position in private meetings and open sessions alike. She believed misunderstandings would pass with time. Trust, she thought, simply needed patience. One quiet cycle, John received a message from a fleet captain stationed far out along the border. The message was short. Unusual council fleet movement detected. No notice given. John forwarded it immediately. The reply came hours later. Routine patrol adjustment. It was not routine. More reports followed. Council ships gathering near human patrol zones. Communication windows narrowing. Long silences where there should have been steady contact. John requested an emergency briefing. The request was delayed. On the council floor, Anna sensed the shift before anyone explained it. Conversations stopped when she entered rooms. Smiles felt forced. Promises grew vague. Then came the sealed session. Human representatives were not invited. Anna stood outside the chamber doors as guards blocked her path. She demanded answers. None were given. Hours later, the doors opened. Delegates exited without meeting her eyes. A single message reached Earth soon after, transmitted on an official channel. Human activity has been reassessed. Council consensus identifies Earth as a long-term instability risk. Containment measures approved. Anna read the message again and again, her hands shaking. Containment. John read it once. Then he closed his eyes. Earth's fleets were already in position, exactly where the Council wanted them. Across the border zones, Council forces moved. Orders reached human ships too late. Some signals never arrived at all. Confusion spread. Defensive lines collapsed before they fully formed. But Earth did not fall silent. Deep within human space, systems awakened that had not been used in generations. Old protocols activated. Hidden networks came online. John stood in the command center watching data streams flare to life. Humanity had hoped never to use these systems. They had been built quietly, not from distrust alone, but from history. Anna's final message reached him through a narrow channel. They never meant to stand with us, she said, her voice steady despite the fear beneath it. They were afraid of what we might become. John nodded, though she could not see him. Then we'll show them who we choose to be, he replied. Above Earth, the stars remained calm and distant. To the Council, humanity was a problem to be solved. To humanity, this was a lesson learned too late, but not forgotten. Trust had been offered freely. And it had been answered with betrayal. The betrayal did not arrive with alarms or loud threats. It came wrapped in silence, hidden behind closed doors and careful words. In a secure chamber deep within the Galactic Council complex, a sealed vote was held. No humans were present. No explanations were offered. When the final count appeared, the decision was clear and cold. Humanity was labeled a future threat. The phrase sounded harmless, almost polite. But its meaning was final. Orders were issued immediately. Council Command sent official requests to Earth's fleet leadership, asking human ships to redeploy farther out along the borders. The messages were calm and respectful. They spoke of routine adjustments and shared defense duties. Every order carried the proper seals and signatures. There was no reason to doubt them. Human fleet commanders followed protocol. Captain Mark Ellis stood on the bridge of the Unity's call, watching stars stretch across the forward screen as his ship entered faster than light travel. His crew moved with practiced calm. They trusted the Council. They trusted the alliance Earth had worked so hard to build. Still, Mark felt uneasy. The border zone they were assigned to was empty and quiet. Too quiet. No trade traffic. No joint patrols. Just deep space and long waits between updates. Days passed. Then weeks. Supply shipments arrived late. Messages from Council Command grew shorter. Mark reviewed the orders again and again. Everything looked correct. But experience had taught him that danger rarely announced itself clearly. Far away, closer to Earth, the first strikes began. Council fleets moved toward human colonies without warning. These were not Earth's core worlds, but outer settlements. Mining stations, research hubs, and growing cities built by people who believed they were finally safe. The attacks were fast and focused. Communication relays were disabled. Defense grids were overwhelmed before full alerts could spread. Millions were forced to flee. Transport ships crowded jump points. Families left behind homes they had spent decades building. Some colonies went dark entirely, their signals cut off from the wider network. On Earth, emergency channels lit up. Reports poured in faster than they could be sorted. Commander John Hale watched the situation unfold with a heavy stillness. There was no panic in the command center, only sharp focus. Humanity had been hurt before. Shock did not stop them now. "What's the council saying?" an officer asked. John's jaw tightened. "Nothing official." That silence was the answer. Anna Moore was still at the council complex when the first confirmed reports reached her. She stood in a long corridor, staring at her tablet as images and data scrolled past. Evacuation requests. Broken defense lines. Civilian distress calls. She demanded an emergency audience. She contacted every delegate who had once praised Earth's honesty and strength. Most did not reply. A few sent short messages filled with regret and distance. One finally answered her call. "This was not personal," the delegate said, avoiding her gaze. "The council chose stability." Anna's voice shook. "You're destroying lives. You are preventing future chaos," the delegate replied softly, then ended the call. Anna stood alone in the corridor, the truth settling heavily on her chest. Humanity had not been attacked because of what it had done, but because of what others feared it might do someday. Out on the border, Captain Mark Ellis received fragmented updates. News of colony attacks slipped through damaged channels. Each report made his unease grow. He requested clarification from Council Command. No reply. He requested confirmation of Earth's status. Silence. Mark ordered his ship to slow and drop out of jump. Stars snapped back into place on the screen. His crew looked to him, waiting. "We hold position," he said. "And we start recording everything." Minutes later, long-range sensors detected movement. Council warships were gathering, far too many for routine patrols. They were not approaching openly. They were positioning themselves. Mark felt the final piece fall into place. "They sent us out here to keep us away," he said quietly. "They wanted us gone when the strikes began." His first officer looked pale. "Captain, that means—" "They never planned to fight us directly," Mark finished. "They planned to remove us without calling it a war." Back on Earth, evacuation efforts expanded. Emergency shelters opened across continents. Human fleets closer to home regrouped quickly, forming defensive lines around key systems. Civilian ships were escorted with careful precision. There was loss, but there was order. Humanity did not surrender. In a quiet room beneath Earth's capital command center, old systems powered up. Lights flickered across long-unused consoles. Files once marked as theoretical were unlocked. Protocols designed for the worst case were activated, one by one. John Hale watched the process with calm resolve. "We hope never to use these," he said. "Hope doesn't change reality," an engineer replied. Anna finally escaped the council complex using channels that had not yet been shut down. Her shuttle slipped into human-controlled space just as official council broadcasts began to spread across the galaxy. The message was carefully worded, filled with concern and calm phrases. Containment measures are underway to preserve galactic balance. There was no mention of civilians. No mention of betrayal. Anna sent a single message to Earth Command before all official council channels cut her off. "They decided this long ago," she said. "The alliance was a test. We passed. That scared them." John listened in silence. Out at the border, Mark Ellis watched council ships move into full combat formation. His sensors confirmed what his instincts already knew. These ships were not here to talk. They were here to make sure no human fleet returned home in time to matter. Mark opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Captain Ellis," he said calmly. "We have been misled. The Council has turned on Earth. We are not the aggressors, but we are no longer protected." There was a pause. Then voices answered, steady, determined. "Orders, Captain." Mark looked at the stars ahead of him. Somewhere beyond them, humanity was under attack. Somewhere behind him, the truth had finally been revealed. "We survive," he said. "We adapt. And we remember." Council ships advanced. Weapons powered up. Yet no shots were fired. Not yet. The Council wanted humanity weakened, scattered, and blamed, removed quietly from the board without shaking the game. They underestimated one thing. Humans had learned long ago that survival did not come from strength alone, but from patience, planning, and the will to stand back up when trust was broken. As fleets aligned and systems braced for what came next, one fact became clear across every human world. Humanity had been betrayed. But it had not been erased. What the Council never understood was simple and deeply human. Earth had learned, across centuries of conflict and survival, that trust was valuable, but blind trust was dangerous. Humanity cooperated openly, shared knowledge freely, and spoke honestly, but it always kept something back. Not secrets born of fear but plans born of memory. Far beyond charted space, past regions the Council had never bothered to map, a silent network waited. No trade lanes passed there. No signals echoed through that dark stretch of stars. It was empty by design. Within that emptiness drifted ships that did not look impressive at first glance. Their hulls were smooth and dark, shaped to waste no energy. No banners marked them. No bright lights announced their presence. They were quiet, patient, and very old. These ships had been built long before Earth joined the Galactic Council. Some were launched even before humanity first made official contact with alien life. They were part of a plan created when Earth still believed the universe might not be kind. Engineer Sarah Cole floated alone in a control chamber buried deep inside an asteroid station that officially did not exist. The room was small, filled with aging screens and simple controls. The technology was not flashy, but it was strong. It had been tested again and again in isolation. Sarah had spent most of her life preparing for this moment, though she had never truly believed it would come. Like many others, she had hoped the fleet she watched over would remain nothing more than a quiet insurance policy. A single alert blinked on her main display. Protocol HFY, authorized. Sarah closed her eyes for a brief moment. Then she exhaled and began to work. Her fingers moved across the console with steady precision. Systems that had slept for decades began to wake. Power cores warmed. Internal lights flickered on, one ship at a time. Across the dark expanse, small signals appeared like distant stars being born. There was no dramatic countdown. No alarms. The activation was quiet and controlled, exactly as it had been designed to be. These ships were different from Earth's main fleets. They were not built for show or diplomacy. Each one carried an advanced learning core, capable of adjusting tactics, managing resources, and operating alone for years if needed. They did not rely on constant communication. They did not panic when cut off. They observed. They adapted. They survived. Sarah watched as data streamed in from scattered probes and listening posts hidden across known space. Council fleet movements. Trade disruptions. Power shifts. Every piece of information was fed into the network. The ships did not respond with emotion. They did not rush to attack. They began to calculate. On Earth, Commander John Hale stood before a large tactical display showing two very different pictures. One showed the visible war, the damaged colonies, the defensive lines, the human fleets forced to react. The other showed the unseen layer beneath it all, marked only by faint symbols and restricted access codes. He said nothing as the data updated. Anna Moore stood nearby, her face pale but focused. "They think we're trapped," she said quietly. "Scattered. Weak." John nodded. "They see what we allow them to see." Far out in the dark, the autonomous fleet shifted slowly, adjusting position by fractions of degrees. Some ships moved closer to Council space. Others pulled farther back, creating depth and distance. None crossed any lines that would reveal them. Sarah monitored the process carefully. The ships were already sharing insights with each other, refining predictions. Council behavior patterns were mapped and remapped. Response times were measured. Weak points were noted, then tested through indirect means. A trade relay failed in one sector. A navigation beacon went dark in another. Small, almost invisible disruptions spread quietly. To the Council, these were minor issues. System errors. Random failures. To the hidden fleet, they were experiments. Humanity did not answer the betrayal with anger. It answered with patience. Captain Mark Ellis, still holding position at the border, received a narrowband transmission that bypassed Council-controlled channels. The message was brief. Hold. Observe. Survive. Mark felt tension leave his shoulders. That single message told him everything he needed to know. Earth had not fallen apart. Earth had plans. Council ships continued to shadow his fleet, growing bolder with each passing day. They expected panic. They expected desperate moves. They received none. Human ships held formation. They conserved power. They documented everything. Back in the hidden sector, Sarah leaned back in her chair as the fleet completed its first full analysis cycle. The projections were clear. The Council depended on centralized control. Its strength came from coordination, not flexibility. Disrupt the coordination and the strength would fade. The ships began preparing new subroutines. Not for destruction but for control. Targeting systems recalibrated away from cities and populations. Focus shifted to logistics, communication, and command. This was not a force built to punish. It was built to end threats without becoming one. John Hale reviewed the same conclusions moments later. "They expect us to fight like them," he said. Big fleets. Loud victories. Anna looked at the display. And instead, we let them realize they were wrong, John replied. As days turned into weeks, the council grew restless. Their early strikes had not broken humanity. Earth still stood. Refugees were sheltered. Fleets reorganized. The expected collapse never came. Council leaders argued behind closed doors. Some urged a stronger response. Others warned of overreach. None of them knew what waited beyond their maps. In the dark, the hidden fleet finished its preparations. Sarah watched as the final readiness indicator turned green. Every ship was active. Every system aligned. They waited for no orders beyond the original authorization. Humanity had not trusted the Council fully, not because it expected betrayal, but because it understood possibility. Trust, to humans, was never the absence of caution. It was the choice to hope while still preparing. The stars beyond charted space remained quiet. But they were no longer empty. And when humanity finally moved, it would not be in haste or rage. It would be with clarity, control, and purpose. When humanity returned, there were no warnings and no dramatic announcements. The stars did not burn. Planets did not fall apart. Life across Council space continued as normal, until it didn't. It began quietly. A major trade route failed without explanation. Cargo ships dropped out of jump to find navigation markers unresponsive. Automated ports stopped answering docking requests. Crews reported clean systems but no access. Everything looked intact, yet nothing worked the way it should. Council officials blamed software faults. Then defense grids went offline. Planetary shields did not collapse. They simply powered down and refused to come back online. Weapon platforms entered safe mode and stayed there. Commanders sent override codes, but the systems did not recognize them anymore. Across dozens of systems, the same thing happened. Human fleets appeared shortly after, but not in massive formations meant to intimidate. They arrived in precise positions, holding steady above key infrastructure points. They did not fire. They did not advance. They simply existed, calm and undeniable. Civilian sensors picked them up first. Long-range scans showed human ship signatures everywhere at once. Around shipyards. Near relay hubs. Beside Council command stations. Panic spread through official channels. How did they get there? When did they cross the borders? Why didn't our sensors detect them earlier? There were no answers. On one Council world, a regional governor watched as communication screens flickered and went dark one by one. His advisors spoke rapidly, fear slipping into their voices. Defense control is not responding. Fleet command can't reach us. Emergency channels are occupied. Occupied was the wrong word. There was no noise, no interference, no human voices flooding the lines. There was only silence. Worlds did not burn. Cities did not fall. Streets remained full. Lights stayed on. People were alive and untouched. But every system that connected those worlds to Council authority was gone. The Council had lost its voice. On Earth, Commander John Hale stood in the same command center where he had once watched the first betrayal unfold. Now the screens showed something very different. Council space glowed with controlled markers, each one showing a system stabilized and contained. Anna Moore stood beside him, her expression unreadable. "They're helpless," she said quietly. "And we didn't hurt them." "That was the point," John replied. Deep within Council territory, a fleet commander tried one last time to issue an attack order. His ship acknowledged the command, and then locked him out. A comm system message appeared. Operational authority unavailable. The commander stared at the screen, stunned. His fleet had not been destroyed. It had simply stopped obeying him. Across the galaxy, Council leaders gathered in emergency chambers, shouting over one another. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others demanded negotiation. A few finally understood the truth and said nothing at all. They were no longer in control. Then the message came. It did not interrupt broadcasts or override civilian channels. It appeared calmly, clearly, and at the same time everywhere. On command screens, public terminals, personal devices, and deep space relays. John Hale's voice carried through the stars. It was steady, clear, and human. "We defended your future. You tried to end ours." No threats followed. No demands were listed. The message ended there. Silence returned, but it was a different kind of silence now. One filled with understanding. Council citizens looked to the skies and saw human ships holding position. They were close enough to be seen but far enough to show restraint. They did not aim weapons at cities. They did not move toward population centers. They waited. Anna watched reports stream in from across known space. They don't know how to respond, she said. They're used to force. We took that away. John nodded. Now they have to face what they did. Some council members attempted to rally remaining loyal fleets. Those fleets found their fuel access restricted. Others found navigation data missing. Every attempt to reassert control ended the same way, quiet failure. Humanity had not attacked the council's people. It had removed the council's power. On a distant council world, an elder delegate stood before an empty chamber where votes had once decided the fate of entire species. The seats were still there. The symbols of authority still hung from the walls. But none of it meant anything now. This is impossible, the elder whispered. Elsewhere, Captain Mark Ellis finally received new orders, real ones this time. His fleet was released from its holding position. Council ships that had once trapped them powered down their weapons and drifted in silence. Mark exhaled slowly. His crew did not cheer. They simply worked, steady and focused. They had survived. And now they were witnessing something rare. Justice without destruction. Back in the hidden sector, Sarah Cole watched the autonomous fleet maintain its careful balance. Systems adjusted in real time, ensuring no civilian harm, no accidental escalation. Every action was measured. Every outcome reviewed. They're learning, she said softly, watching council responses shift from anger to fear, then to something closer to respect. Humanity had returned, but not as conquerors and not as victims. They returned as proof. Proof that strength did not need cruelty. Proof that power did not need chaos. Proof that the council's greatest mistake was not attacking Earth, but underestimating how humans would respond. Across the galaxy, one truth settled into every mind that mattered. The humans were not angry. And that frightened the council more than rage ever could. Panic spread through what remained of the council's command structure. Silence had taken away control, but fear pushed some leaders toward desperate choices. Hidden orders were sent through old backup channels. Armadas that still answered council authority were told to attack human positions wherever they could. The attacks were rushed and uncoordinated. Human ships detected the movements long before the first weapons powered up. Their systems had already studied council tactics, command delays and reaction habits. When the armadas moved, the humans were ready, not with larger fleets but with faster thinking. The first clash never became a real battle. Council ships fired volleys based on outdated threat models. Human vessels shifted formation instantly, changing energy patterns and signal signatures in real time. Target locks failed. Guidance systems lost accuracy. Council weapons shut down one after another, confused by systems that no longer matched their predictions. From the outside it looked like nothing was happening. Inside council command ships, chaos took hold. Controls stopped responding. Engines slowed then cut out completely. Weapon systems locked themselves into safe mode. One by one, entire armadas drifted powerless in open space. Human boarding teams arrived only after all resistance ended. They moved calmly, offering medical help and clear instructions. No shots were fired. No lives were taken. Council fleet leaders were detained and removed from command without ceremony. Their authority codes were invalidated across every system they once controlled. Strategist Liam Brooks monitored it all from Earth's deep command center. His role was not to win battles but to prevent destruction. Every operation passed through strict filters. Civilian zones were marked and avoided. Planetary systems were protected from fallout. Trade routes were stabilized once control nodes were secured. Keep it clean, Liam said quietly as updates rolled in. No world burns for this. Human ships adapted with every encounter. When council forces tried new tactics, the response came faster each time. What the council saw as failure, humanity saw as learning. Within days, the remaining armadas stopped attacking. Some powered down voluntarily. Others requested terms. None were destroyed. Across council space, symbols of authority vanished. Titles meant nothing. Orders carried no weight. The structure that once ruled dozens of species simply stopped functioning. Citizens noticed the change before leaders did. Taxes halted. Forced patrols ended. Restrictions lifted as systems reset under neutral oversight. Worlds that had lived under quiet pressure for generations found themselves suddenly free to choose. Humanity did not claim control over any of it. Liam reviewed the final status reports with calm focus. They can't rule anymore, he said. That was always the goal. John Hale stood beside him, watching the same data. And the galaxy will remember how we did it. The Council had tried to erase humanity without a war. Instead, humanity ended an empire without conquest. And the stars, once tense with fear, grew quiet again, not with silence but with relief. The end did not come with a final battle or a loud declaration. It came quietly, almost gently. One by one, the remaining council members stepped down. Emergency chambers emptied. Command seals were deactivated. The systems that once enforced authority across the galaxy went dark, not because they were destroyed but because no one remained to use them. The Galactic Council dissolved itself. There was no victory celebration on Earth. No flags raised over foreign worlds. No speeches claiming dominance. Human fleets held position just long enough to ensure stability, then began to withdraw. Ships that had appeared everywhere at once now vanished just as calmly, slipping back into deep space and home systems. Earth claimed no throne. No tribute was demanded. No territory taken. No conditions forced upon the worlds that had once lived under Council rule. That choice confused many. On several former Council worlds, leaders waited for instructions that never came. They expected new rulers, new laws, new demands. Instead, they received open communication channels and a simple message. Governance was now their own responsibility. Some worlds struggled at first. Others adapted quickly. Without central control, local leaders spoke openly for the first time in generations. Old trade agreements were rewritten by mutual consent. Defense groups formed voluntarily, based on shared needs rather than forced obligation. A new kind of alliance began to take shape, not built around power but around trust earned slowly and carefully. Anna Moore sat alone in a quiet room on Earth, recording the final account of the crisis. The room was simple. No grand symbols. No audience. Just her voice and a record that would one day be shared across human space. She spoke calmly, choosing her words with care. "We were betrayed because we were feared," she said. "Not for what we did but for what others believed we might do. When the moment came we proved them wrong." She paused, thinking of the countless lives displaced, the homes lost, the trust broken. Humanity had paid a price, but it had not let that price turn into cruelty. "We had the power to rule," Anna continued, "and we refused it." Across Earth, life slowly returned to a steady rhythm. Refugees found new homes. Colonies rebuilt with shared support. Fleets returned to exploration and defense, no longer hidden, no longer hunted. Commander John Hale stood on a viewing platform overlooking Earth's orbit. Human ships moved in quiet patterns above the planet, no longer on alert, no longer waiting for attack. "We could have stayed," an officer beside him said. "No one could have stopped us." John nodded. "That's why we left." Far beyond Earth, in systems once ruled by fear, people looked to the stars and saw empty space where human fleets had been. There was relief, but also something else. Respect. They understood now that humanity's strength was not just in its ships or its technology, but in its restraint. Humans had shown the galaxy what power looked like when it was guided by choice instead of hunger. The new alliance grew slowly. Membership was voluntary. Decisions required agreement, not obedience. Worlds joined because they wanted to, not because they were forced. Humanity did not lead it. Humanity participated. Years later, historians across many species would point to this moment as a turning point. Not the fall of the Council, but the decision that followed it. The choice not to replace one ruler with another. Anna finished her final recording and closed the file. She sat quietly for a moment, listening to the soft hum of Earth's systems around her. One truth stood above all others, simple and impossible to forget. The galaxy learned that the most dangerous species was not the one that conquered everything. It was the one strong enough to walk away.